Technology is a game changer. If we don't digitize, if we don't get into the digital transformation mindset, our companies are going to become dinosaurs. Look for your friends that have already digitized their companies, that are on their way to digitization. Talk to them, say, how do you do the things? How do you attack this animal called digitalization? I started working in technology in 2007, many years ago. A lot of people say, well, you're too old. Well, yeah, I've been around for a while. In 2007, I started working with mobile money, mobile payments. And back then, everybody was saying this thing will never work, because we had credit cards, we had debit cards, we had cash. Everybody was sold on cash is king and banks were the kings. And nobody ever imagined that this new technology about mobile payments was going to catch on, was going to become the thing that conquers the universe. And now we are in Africa, and everybody in Africa has a cell phone. Everybody has mobile money. People are paying with, just pressing a few buttons and you've made a payment. Thousands of dollars are being exchanged using mobile money, no cash. When COVID-19 hit here in Africa, businesses went cashless, and it worked. Nobody was prepared for COVID. It was not something everybody was looking forward to having or prepared to have. But we were so lucky that Africa was ready with mobile money, mobile payments. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for us to go through COVID to make payments. In COVID, I was here, I was making payments to suppliers and all kinds of people. Technology is a game changer. But I'm digressing. So back in 2007, we're tinkering around with mobile money. 2008, I was in the US working on technology, and I go to Uganda and I meet a company and I say, hey, we've got this technology, and they say, well, what is it? And they say, it's mobile money. You can send money to your friend. And they look at me and they just laughed. They say, well, this thing will never work, And so I go back to the US, I tell my friends and I say, I think we are too early, But a few years later, mobile money launches in Kenya, M-Pesa launches mobile money, and the rest is history. So we have been seeing evolutions of technology all over the world. But the problem is that a lot of businesses come to the game very late. When you talk about digital transformation, businesses think of technology as a tool that they can use to, make their business move faster, right? But that's the past. In the past, technology was an enabler for business. But the age of enablement is over. Now, every company has to be a technology company. Technology is not an enabler. Technology now is a tool for transformation. And with the advent of artificial intelligence and machine learning and data science, you are going to see a lot of businesses, a lot of governments working with massive amounts of data, analyzing data, and making decisions on the fly. So if you have to wait 2, 3, 4 days to make a decision on a supplier or to make a decision on a customer, someone who is harvesting data, analyzing data, and deriving decisions from that data, they are going to be making decisions quickly, they are going to be reacting quickly, and you can't really compete with them. So I want to talk about digital transformation today, right? Digital transformation. We're not talking about digitization, which is basically, taking something that is on paper and then, converting it into digital. We're not talking about digitalization, which is actually taking tasks that are done manually and then you are digitizing them. No, we're talking about digital transformation. Governments in Africa need a digital transformation, the ability to know what the citizens need. I live in Rwanda, and in Rwanda we have several technologies that citizens use. I use a lot of technologies in Rwanda here, government technologies, that make my life very, very easy. For example, in Rwanda, I can buy a piece of land, and then within 24 hours, I have my land title, and I don't even have to go to the land office. A lot of countries in Africa, if you buy a piece of land, you have to go through step 1 and step 2 and step 3 and visit the land office and find witnesses. And by the time you get your piece of land, time has passed. Your project is no longer viable. But Rwanda has digitized every piece of land in the country, that you can buy a piece of land. You can buy a piece of land remotely and be able to have a title transfer within a few hours. I have seen people in Rwanda getting a speeding ticket and then standing right there and paying the speeding ticket, and the money goes straight to the national treasury in an instant. It reduces corruption, it speeds up the process, and don't go out there getting speeding tickets. But what I'm trying to say is that citizen services are simplified through digital processes, and you cannot compete with a government that is digitizing processes and systems, because that government is going to get to its people faster, smarter, and people are going to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of importance, because services are getting to them quickly. So we haven't even started to understand what digital transformation is going to do to businesses. There's a lot of businesses that we have today that we won't have tomorrow because they can't keep up. And this has already been happening all over the world, right? Many of you have heard stories of companies like Blockbuster. Blockbuster was a video rental company in America, and Netflix launched, and Netflix was online streaming, and Blockbuster looked at Netflix and they said, well, this thing will never work, because look, no one has that much internet to stream videos. So Blockbuster discounted Netflix because they thought these kids are just paying. I used to rent videos from Blockbuster all the time. Me and my wife, we used to go out in the evening, rent a video and a DVD and come watch it at home. And then, one day my wife and I are like, well, what is this Netflix thing? Actually, Netflix started by delivering DVDs in the mail, but they had in the back of their mind that we're going to help people receive their videos, their movies in an instant. And that was revolutionary, and nobody believed that this will ever work. So what happened? What happened is that the internet started getting better, and it caught up with Netflix. And before you know, Blockbuster is filing for bankruptcy. And there's been more companies like that. There has been Circuit City that sold electronics, and then all of a sudden everybody's buying electronics on Amazon. We've had companies like Kodak made film and photography, and they have IP in photography, but they couldn't keep up with digital photography. And Kodak filed for bankruptcy. BlackBerry couldn't keep up with the iPhone and Android. And the list goes on and on. What I'm saying is, we have to come to the realization that if we don't digitize, if we don't get into the digital transformation mindset, our companies are going to become dinosaurs. Countries are going to become dinosaurs. Governments are processing huge amounts of data. They are collecting data on age, on healthcare, data on food production, on rainfall, on sunshine. All this data is being gathered, and governments are becoming smarter in decision making. And I tell a lot of leaders that I meet, especially here in Africa, and I say, hey, look, we missed out on the Industrial Revolution because it required a lot of machinery. We missed out on revolutions or changes. But are we really gonna miss out on the digital revolution? Because this one is possible. This is doable. It doesn't require you to have huge amounts of money. It doesn't require you to, this one actually we can do. And the question is, are we going to allow this one to go by? So every company has to understand that unless you digitize, unless you jump onto the digitalization bandwagon, you are going to be left behind and your company may not be there tomorrow. I know that many of us have questions about how do I even start this whole digitization story? Where do I start? My team doesn't understand technology. My team has pushed back on technology. I've used the platform in the past, and in the past, and it didn't work. What am I going to do? I don't know what to do. Well, I'm saying, how much do you want to stay in business? If you really want to stay in business, you're going to have to figure that out and seek the help of friends. Look for your friends that have already digitized their companies, that are on their way to digitization. Talk to them, say, how do you do these things? How do you attack this animal called digitalization? And I have been helping a lot of companies figure out how to digitize their enterprises. And I want to tell you that it's not easy. You work in a company of 400 employees and, there is no, they are all written down on paper. Salaries are written on paper and it's a big mess. But I have worked with companies that have decided that they are going to digitally transform their enterprises, and they have done it and it has succeeded. So it is about choice, it's about determination, it's about how much do you want to stay alive. But this thing called digitization is here to stay and it's going nowhere. And it is time that we believe and accept that we have to jump on or jump off.